I am Grantham Taylor Hughes from my show, The Grantham Taylor Hughes Show, and my guest hosts today, Rose Korchak, and we have Vicky and Tony Wright. How are you guys doing today, everybody?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very
Thank you
happy.
for inviting me.
Rose is coming all the way from Australia, down under with the kangaroos down there. So, yeah, make my die, mate. Okay, mate. But you're not from Australia, you're from formerly Czechoslovakia. What is it now? I don't remember the name now. It's still
Slovakia.
they changed it. Of course, that's what they do politically. It's a mess, as we now know. Anyway, so today I guess we're going to talk about yantra phasing. Is that what we want to talk about? Since we have Rose on the call, that would be because she's very advanced with this. Everybody, Rose has gotten to the ninth phase, right, Rose? I think.
Yes, that's nine.
Nine, yeah, I'm at six, and seven, eight, and nine, but then we're not really certain what's beyond that. But what we're trying to do, folks, is we're trying to get to Padaka, which is the portals of travel in the knowingness arena. Several years ago, I met these two gentlemen from different countries that actually moved with their eyesight through a convergence and divergence practice where you go into another portal and they were maybe about 100 yards in front of themselves in a different portal. Now, that language might sound complex, and it is, folks, because it's not really, it's just the truth, but there's a lot of data. So we go through a lot of data. I truly apologize to the listening audience if you can bear with us. But we know what we're talking about, but nobody else does. So it's kind of a new language. See, because nobody does yantra phasing. We're the only one that do yantra phasing. As Tony has coined the word, we're called yantranauts. We're the yantranauts, not astronauts, but yantranauts. That's what is known as the Sri Yantra. It's a very old mandala, 5 million years old. Okay, but then we're going to say, well, who wrote it up? Well, see, there comes the dicey part of the whole thing. But anyway, so it's a very old mandala that we're using. We're calling it yantra phasing. So eventually, when you see that one yantra, we're trying to make it into two yantras, and that would be Thai, which is two yantras. What we're trying to do is separate it with our eyes to make two of them. And the reason for that, maybe I'll go into the explanation of omnivergence, if you will, because people are aware of my Omnivergence Institute, which is convergence and divergence of your eyes. People know the magic eye technique where they have these pictures. They look like a bunch of little scattered colors. And when you look above the page, now peripherally, they'll converge and you'll see a picture. That's called divergence and convergence. And that whole process, I coined the phrase many years ago, omnivergence, when you go divergence and convergence. Now, the basis of that practicality is that we're all in two worlds, but the world you're looking at right now, folks, is a superimposed two pictures on top of each other because you have two eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the proof of that is there's a book called Photo Reading, which is kind of a nutty professor book by Dr. Peter Shield. And he was getting to the crux of the matter of when you're separating your eyes a little bit, then you're turning them into cameras because our eyes are really cameras. And then we take a picture of each side of the page and then you store it in your mind. So photo reading is a way to read 300,000 words a minute. Now, I didn't make that up, but that was actually documented in the book Photo Reading. Now, having said that, we're looking at one picture, converged picture, but there's really two there. There's two pictures. So if you can learn to separate the two pictures, but we're not there yet in terms of our yantranaut work that we're doing. So that's the goal, is to get to what is known as Padaka, to separate the two windows. And people say, well, that should be pretty easy, but we found that it's not easy. So what we do is we use the yantra as like a GPS for Padaka. It's it's like a global positioning system to try a mapping to try to get to Padaka. So that's why we're using the yantra to do that. I was trying to get down to simplify the whole thing, but just know everybody, we're in two worlds and we're not in one world. We're in one portal. So once you realize you're in a singular portal in this vast array of 144 portals, that simplifies what I'm trying to talk about. Rose, do you have anything you'd like to say? I'll put you on the spot.
I don't know if it's too hard for someone to start with the first step where we diverge the bindu, but that's the most important one. No, if you can diverge the bindu and see two bindus. So you concentrate on the right one. So when you see the right one and you concentrate long enough, you will see the diamond of health. Then you see, next step, you see the hourglass. And then after that you see the cocoon of wealth. Then you see the ring of infinity, the Roy. Yeah.
Oh, Roy,
and then after Roy, you see the twin portals, and then you see blinking door. After this one you can see the twin yantra, but those steps takes time, so you have to be diligent and spend some time to practice this, because your eyes will actually adjust to see two worlds. So,
Rose, you're one of the sweetest people I've ever met. You're just such a wonderful person. I really admire you a great deal, by the way. You really are. You're just so gentle and so goodly. I wish I could do it as well as you just did. That was brilliant. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I think people like very simple answers. And sometimes the simplicity is more important than anything else.
The problem is a time thing, Rose. I talk fast and I don't slow down enough. And we need to take the time to slow down. And when we do that, I lose my mind. I can't remember anything. Thank you for that presentation. That was excellent. These phases are very important. We think that, Rose, and I think you're in concert with this, that it's probably the 12th phase. We separate the world in front of us, and it opens up into Padaka. Padaka doesn't open up at the 9th phase, so that's a good recognition. So we're now speculating it's the 12th phase, because that's the mathematically precise factor of 12 times 12. There's 144 arrays in Padaka. The way you can understand that, and we've talked about this on the calls, that if you put two mirrors in front of each other, and I realized the other day mirrors don't lie. Mirrors tell the truth, right? They can't lie to each other like humans can. But anyway, so when we put two mirrors in front of each other, if you look to the left side of the mirror, you'll see an array of 18 windows that go around to the circle. Now, I had a realization last night. You guys are going to appreciate this. And then if you look to the right side of the mirror, there's another 18 doorways that go around to the center. Now in that center, it looks like a pillar of light. Don't you think it's like there's a pillar in the middle? And so some people talk about the essence of man being a pillar of light. So the mirror actually reveals a pillar in the middle. We're in the middle in this pillar. Isn't that interesting? And there's a higher Sanskrit term called Lanu Prabhava, which is the individual pillar of light that people are in the center. So the mirrors reveal that pillar of light. Isn't that fascinating? That actually blew me away last night. Oh, I get chills sometimes when I get these incredible enlightenments. So we're trying to give the freedom of eyesight travel. The three ruinations are, number one, we lose our language. Number two, we lose our eyesight travel. And number three, we lose our life in a short time of 100 years. And we talk about portality, which is proper mortality. Proper mortality means however long the ground is beneath us, we can live on this ground. And this ground that we've been living here has been 6 million years. So that means somebody could be 6 million years old, and then people are going to have a hard time believing that. It's hard for me to believe it. I don't believe it. Yes, I do. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so I'm trying to make this clear today. I don't know if it's coming in clear in an explanation.
It is, Grantham.
Yeah, the simplification is that again, we're stuck in two pictures. They're superimposed on each other. And that's why people are really frustrated too, because they know that they're stuck and they're trying to find a way to be unstuck, but they don't really know how to do that. So we're trying to get unstuck from the portal that we're in, and that will lead to some real freedom. And that's part of people's pains in their physical life when they're born into this. They have three ruinations in their life and don't know it. See, they bite off a big challenge when they're born in the world today because they lose their language. And we know that the native language, we talk about this, is the sacred language, which is speaking in tongues. And I'll give an example of it. There's a rumor that says that Grantham Taylor Hughes speaks in tongues. Is that true? Yes, because I started the rumor. When we're born, we have a native language, but then it's taken away from us when they start waxing logic. See, what we need to do is nurture both those languages. If we nurture the Osaka, you're going to have a better relationship with your children. A friend of mine has like 5 children, and she taught them a sacred from their births. And the boy was a little bit slow in speaking logic. It took him about 2 years to start speaking in logic, but now has a brilliant concept of language and what have you. So people have better relationships with their family if they learn about the sacred language or native language. And then the second ruinations, as we said before, is people actually lose their life or is shortened by saying it's only 100 years long, and you're supposed to be all worn out looking and dilapidated by the time you're 100, instead of looking very youthful, like Rose looks very youthful today. You look like you're in an airplane, by the way. Anyway, so portality is called proper mortality. So you can live a lot longer, and we talk about certain nutritional aspects and hydration and things of that nature to live longer than 100 years and not look so bad. Some people say I look pretty youthful for my age. I'm either 78 or 75. We're not really certain of that. The history of that's kind of murky. My records are in Metz. It's France now, Metz, France. I used to be Metz, Germany. Before it was called, the city of Metz was in Prussia, because I'm a Prussian Baron, Baron von Bauer Rothschild. So I'm a Prussian Baron. And so therefore, I'm Prussian. Oh, that was a nice conclusion. Thank you very much, Grant. That was really, it was probably common sense dictates. So then there's some question about where I was born and all that business. But having said that, moving on and moving back to the phases of Yantra, that is the next ruination is we're not talking about proper travel. So when we give back eyesight travel, we're able to move in and out of different portals at will, and that becomes controversial too.
I was thinking that, this wisdom we are bringing onto the table now, talking about these phases, I think it's such a wonderful news to those who are actively looking for answers.
See, like Tony's always saying, that we're in the knowingness arena when we get there, and we'll know these things. But these people that don't have a methodology and understand what we're talking about, they get trapped in different portals and they don't know where they are. Psychology calls it psychic breaks and everything else. So psychology doesn't understand it. We're the only ones that understand it. We're the yantranauts, and we're the ones that understand this, and no one else does. I mean, even in the yantra work, they don't do yantra phasing. So you can appreciate we're the only ones that are doing this right now. Several weeks ago, I was concerned about getting to Roy. I thought I'd never get there. I said, when I get there, there'll be 10 Terra. There'll be heralds playing. It was very subtle. I got to Roy, and there's no ticker tape parade, and there was no heralds playing or no Susan marches or anything. So it's very subtle, and Rose can confirm that too. When you get to these phases, it's no big deal, but prior to it, I think it's exciting. Don't you think, Rose?
It's very exciting when you can see the next one.
Yeah, trying to.
I was thinking it would be really beautiful if we can talk about the actual deeper meaning behind the phases, starting with the fact that the yantra is a mapping for harmonization. why people would also gain something on the merit of actually holding the phase called Diamond of Health, which might take a month or even two, because these phases they don't happen instantly.
We want to point out that this isn't about any kind of spiritual enlightenment. It's really about physical movement. But see, in the Far East, they believe that yantra can get you to some kind of spiritual enlightenment. I want to qualify that. This is about physicality and only, all right? And so each one of those significances, like the bindu is we point out doing a 9-minute viewing of a bindu, that can bring you wealth. It can bring you riches by doing the 9 minutes without doing anything else. And behind that is the cocoon of wealth. So when you get to the fourth phase of cocoon of wealth, we call that COW, C-O-W. That's an acronym for COW. So when you get the cocoon of wealth, that's behind the bindu. So each one of the phases have significance. So when you do the first 9 minutes, it's focused on the cocoon of wealth, but the people in the Far East don't know that. When they talk about gaining riches through doing the bindu, they don't realize there's a big focus on the cocoon of wealth, which is the fourth phase. Now, if we go previously, when you were talking about the diamond of health, well, obviously that improves your health. If you focus on the diamond of health, if you're having health issues, that will improve your health issue. So that's a very good thing. And then when you get to the hourglass of immortality, now think of the word immortality, not immortality, it's immortality. Now you're waxing proper mortality. You're on a level of sustaining your life longer than 100 years and not looking like you're all dilapidated. See, old and grizzled up and shriveled up in a wheelchair or using a Zimmer frame and a cane and all that nonsense. You see what I mean? You're looking pretty good, and rejuvenation can take place at any time. So that would be your hourglass of immortality. And you're not really stuck on these things. The yantra is a mirror. It knows you inside and out. So when you get to a phase, you probably need that phase. You're needing to do it. Like when I get to hourglass of immortality, and sometimes I'm seeming like I'm stuck there, but not often. Recently, I would start out there, and I just sit there and relax, and I realize I'm supposed to be there, see? And then you let it go to a higher level. The higher is just a qualitative language because the numbers are higher. So I'm trying to qualify that too. So anyway, when you go to the hourglass of immortality, which is the third phase, then you're working on your mortality. So when you go to cocoon of wealth, obviously it gains your riches in your life. It can gain you an empire, whatever you want, because there's plenty of room. We don't believe in competition. A competition's only stuck in this portal, one portal. When you have multiple portals, anybody can have a grand estate if they want. So that cocoon of wealth is unlimited in terms of wealth. And then the next level would be the rings of infinity. If you look at that, it's the infinity symbol, it's called the Mobius strip, or the sideways 8. A Mobius strip, it's a non-figure. There's no inside or outside to a Mobius strip. If you make a Mobius strip, if you take a ribbon of paper, you cut it and twist it, and if you run your finger along that Mobius strip, you're going to find it's a no side. It's not an inside or an outside, it's a no side. I'm the only scholar in the world that has explained the Mobius strip. Dr. Mobius didn't even know what he had. A lot of people do discoveries, don't know what they're doing. But anyway, so the Mobius strip is a non-figure figure, but it's also a sign for infinity. See, so if you're on Roy, which is very exciting when you're on Roy, you're in infinity. You're not really there, but you're in infinity. But moving on to the sixth phase, which is called the twin portals, which I'm doing a Ganosus on the twin portals right now. What's the significance of the twin portals? I have no idea. He's stuck. Grantham Taylor Hughes doesn't have an answer finally? Mr. Answer Man? The Oracle himself? has no idea why you were doing twin portals. Well, twin portals is a significant phase when you're getting towards Padaka. Yeah, go ahead, Tony. Try to say something. Try to get a word in edgewise. Go ahead.
Been in conversation with one of our Iranian friends, and they were talking about Sri Yantra. She's doing Sri Yantra, and she's on Diamonds of Health. But what she said, it reminded me of the other benefits. She said that her sister had started doing it, and her sister's concentration and focus had improved. So much so that the sounds that used to bother her have dissipated. So that's another benefit for you. It improves your concentration and your focus.
Oh yeah, it improves everything, your whole body structure. It's improved my eyesight. I can actually take off my glasses. Oh, I'm blind. I can't see. Anyway, it has improved my eyesight a great deal. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. Well, the law of assumption is probably the best thing. Remember, Abdullah was talking about, he's probably the most consistent guru that talks about the law of assumption, which I really appreciate a lot, because you assume the position of I am healthy or I am rich, and that means you're the employer of all the employees. The two prepositions you need to understand the law of assumption is it's not to me, it's from me. That simple change of a direction, that means you're the fountain of all wealth, you're the creator, you're the cash man or the cash woman, and so you're the center for all the whole thing. You don't really have to go out and get it. So we got to change the phrase from to me, from me. Neville Goddard talks a lot about, but in the old days, Neville was going back and forth from the to me and the from me. So I'm recommending Abdullah. One of my teachers talked about it too as well, was Wallace Wattles in the book, the Financial Success book. In chapter 14, he was talking about the law of perpetual increase, which is maintaining the law of assumption in the center. When you're the center for the outflow from me, it's hard to do this, by the way, because people think, oh, I got to go out and get a job and whatnot. But they don't realize they don't have to do that, because if you're the fountain of all the wherewithal of your own self and the rest of the world, then you're flowing out to everybody. But you got to remember, when you're flowing out, you maintain 60% and you give out 40%. It's kind of like the rings of infinity. They kind of flow, they flow laboratorily like this on the plane, and then when the one to the right is flowing it's about 20% bigger. The rings of infinity are showing like an equal thing, but in reality, the one on the right is 60% and the one on the left is 40%. So you want to maintain 60% of your empire and give out 40%. That means for every $1 million you have to give 400,000 to charity. That's a big chunk of change, by the way. Trust me, you get real nervous when you give out $400,000 and you maintain 600,000. See what I mean? You can make it tax-free too, because you don't have to do the tax. But anyway, so this whole 60-40 thing is very important. It was Baba Mahayadeen talked about it was called Paragraph 40. And he was always talking about in his language, he was from Sri Lanka, and Sri Lankan language, Tamil. Tamil is Viraga, meant that you maintain 60 and give out 40% of your estate. That's an important percentage to remember. You say, I am rich, you do that in the mirror, and depending on how powerful you are, it can happen overnight. There's a guy called the Billionaire Delivery Boy that was in India. He was delivering some yantras to this woman. Ironically, he worked for a yantra company. You have to appreciate that the people in the Far East, they start to sell yantras at some point, and they don't do the phases like we do. And the wealth formula they use is selling yantras. So anyway, this guy was a delivery boy for a yantra company, and he was delivering these yantras to this woman, and he knocked on the door at about 5 o'clock in the evening, and she wasn't there. So he took the yantras home and put them under his bed. So as the story goes, he woke up the next morning laying on $1 billion. He was just laying on the money, right? So I call him the BDB, the Billionaire Delivery Boy, because he became one of the richest people in India when that happened. So you can appreciate that yantra is a wealth instrument, And now everybody knows the law of attraction, but it doesn't work. I mean, people have a lot of trouble with the law of attraction because attraction is a noun, it's not an action verb. To assume or to increase are action verbs. So law of assumption is very important to be when you get the prepositional phrase from me and not to me. So we got to stay consistent with that, folks. If you're not consistent, when it won't work. Yeah, go ahead, Tony. Try to get a word in edgewise.
Yeah, I was going to say I've recently been reading Neville, and he talks about Abdullah when he first met him. Neville Goddard was a dancer in Depression, New York. So he was finding it hard to get money to get back because he wanted to go back to Barbados. So he met Abdullah, and Abdullah said, "You've got to believe that you are in Barbados." So
That's right. That's right.
he met him on another night, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to Barbados." And Abdullah said, "No, you are in Barbados." So that illustrates
That's
if you want
right.
to be rich, you have to believe and act that you're rich,
That's
and
right.
then it will come.
So it's a question whether you are able to experience a feeling of this kind. So if you never experience a feeling of this kind, then you have to
Imagine it.
somehow create the feeling. So if there's no feeling, there's no way of being able to project yourself in a situation.
You can even use the yantra for this. You can see yourself in a bindu and see yourself in the future, how you want to see yourself.
That's what I was thinking when you were talking about. If we get to Padika, then we can go to these places, and even if we're not in Padika, like you said, the feelings of being there, suddenly you're there. See, because that's the law of assumption. So that's exciting. I'm glad you brought that up, both of you, Vicky and Rose and Tony, mentioning that all of a sudden you're there. Like in other words, we see three of us here. Why aren't we all in the same room? Here comes the questions. Why? And that's a lack thing. It's like a to me instead of from me. So when I ask a question, then suddenly I'm not there. It's like doing vision boards. And I make a joke about you put a vision board on the wall. See, when we're off the wall, we're being silly, right? You see what I mean? But if it's on the wall, we don't want it to be on the wall. We want it off the wall. We want the picture to be in that picture. I go to museums sometimes, and I'll describe paintings to people and get really intricate in maybe a scene, outdoor scene, right? And so there are like 3 or 4 people looking at the scene. So I'll start talking about what's in the scene and the details of the meadow and the color of the trees and there's a fence post there and I start pointing all this out and then the curator comes behind. What are you doing? Like that, and we all jump out of the painting. And go, oh, sorry, we're all inside the painting, right?
You mentioned before 10,000 suns, the power of 10,000 suns. So
Yes.
is this power coming through our eyesight?
Like Vicky's saying, when we want to bring this inner light, when we blink our eyes, we're bringing this inner light to create our outer world of manifestation. See, so that we blink our eyes, we close our eyes, we're on the sun plane. When we open our eyes, we can see the sun. But when we close our eyes, it's like esoteric, exoteric. When we're using our esoteric power. So I thank you, Vicky, for bringing that up. So that light that we use that in phasing and yantra too. I'm glad you're using that, Rose. Blinking the eyes is very important. And you learn how to blink it in your own individual idiom of how you want to do the blinking. I've thought of that many times before, about how to articulate that, because when you're looking, your eyes start to strain. Like Vicky, you call it the straining of the eyes, and you can feel it burn a little bit. You don't want it to burn. You want to close your eyes before it does that. If you can start to feel it come on, because you got to maintain this vehicle, and that's what you were talking about, Rose, the sensitivity of your physical body and the energies. So that's an interesting thing. We have a lot of power, but then we can augment it with exterior lights and foodstuffs and things of that nature. So that's good that you brought that up. Yes, Tony, please.
Yeah, it's just brought it up that with the yantra helping us to concentrate and focus on things, this energy is being pulled into a beam rather than being diffused and not being ineffectual. So if you're concentrating, your energy,
Like a
you're
laser.
gonna like a laser, like Vicky says. You're gonna have more effect than if you don't use the yantra. You just wish for things. Your energy is diffused. It's
Right. Like you're right. It's a focus factor. If you look into your forehead, you can look into the pupils of peripherally into a person's soul. So I'm always saying we don't really know how to look at each other properly. So if you look in the forehead now peripherally, you can see the pupils of eternity. And why are the pupils black in the center? Why is it black? Well, because the light is really far away in a tunnel. My teachers, my Lama teachers, were talking about the tunnel of Vayuka. And if you look into the dark pupils, if you look closer, you'll see a pinpoint of light at the end of the tunnel within somebody's eyes. You see what I mean? But it's hard to find the light in people's eyes because they have this threshold between a long dark tunnel. See, it's very interesting, isn't it? You think, well, is Grantham a cosmic conscious guru? Is he some kind of guru, enlightened guru from the East? No, I don't know anything, folks. And I'm done for today. See you later. Bye. Just kidding.
we're in the infancy of using eyes. I was thinking about the eagle has eyes that are 5 times better than ours, and then I found a lady that in the Guinness Book of Records, and she can see a person a mile away and recognise that person. They're also saying she's got microscopic vision as well. So it shows that, in my mind, that in the past, one of her past lives was probably as an eagle, and she's bringing back that skill from the past.
Yeah, I've talked about, I believe in reincarnation. I just think it's a physical reoccurrence. Nietzsche was talking about perpetual reoccurrence, like we come in each lifetime and do the same lifetime over and over again, which I agree with to a certain degree, but it's a facsimile. We change it a little bit each time. But again, it's a matter of having experiences and dream states or whatever of being another person and what have you. So I think that's becoming a common vernacular of reincarnation. People are starting to cave to that whole thing because people in the certain religions didn't really believe in reincarnation, but they were a minority. So I think the majority are starting to believe in that. It's hard not to believe in it because we have so much intelligence and such expertise that we can bring to the table. Where do we get that? It's repetition from the past, see, from many past lives. I mean, you can't be as intelligent as you are without having some previous experiences. It's just not possible. So that's why we bring that to fruition in this particular lifetime if we have an opportunity to express it. See, remember we're always talking about if we get out of people's way to allow them to articulate, they can do their own self-discovery and gain their own self-realization, which is gaining your voice and kind of being the sat guru, if you will. But when you gain your own voice, you make your own connection. My Lama teachers call it the apnoti, A-P-N-O-T-I, which is a higher Sanskrit term for making a voice connection, gaining your own confidence. And when you gain your own confidence, then you're the sat guru, you're a teacher, you see. Anyway, I consider myself a self-realized person, whether people believe it or not, because I do have a voice connection, even though sometimes I'm going too fast, and I realize that. But from my side of it, it sounds pretty good. Oh, well, there you go. Okay, so we'll end the call then. Say thank you everybody for being here today. I really appreciate it. This is Grantham Taylor Hughes, and I'm saying bye for now.
Bye.
Bye bye.